26th annual Roxbury Film Festival. I want to give a big shout out to Lisa and her sister Allison for doing such a great job. So for mutual directors and producers here today, please state your name, the film that you're with, and what's the inspiration for bringing that film to us today.
Well, thanks, ROXFILM, for having me. I'm Derek Haynes. I'm the director of New York film, the animated Black Western. I do say that animated Black Western, you think about animation as a genre that has evolved over years, and obviously I was using contemporary methods of computer graphics and CGI techniques and mocap and all this different stuff. But I found it, when I started the project, I found it strange that in 100 years of animated film and TV, we've never seen a Black Western. We've had 5 of those Wests. We've had Bugs Bunny in the West. We've had so many different things, and yet 1 out of 3 cowboys were black. So how has Hollywood protected for this genre an image and completely left out? So I said, I'm gonna do it.
Well, that's great.
Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much to Roxbury Film Festival. My name is John Peter, and I'm the director of How to Sue the Klan. The inspiration behind that film was I was working at a local PBS station in Chattanooga where I live. I'm from Boston, but I heard about the story and I started asking colleagues and friends who had lived in Chattanooga for 40 years, and none of them knew this story. It seemed like a horrible injustice that the more people I asked, the more people said, I don't know what you're talking about. And so we set about trying to find a director and a crew and assemble a team to create this film, but it was really to do justice to a story that had been largely forgotten by the city.
I'm Ronnie Thomas. I'm the director and editor of Malcolm X, and did it in collaboration and the inspiration, it just drew from my childhood question, why? Why?
Okay, well, my inspiration was a little bit different, meaning that we were commissioned to do it because we were commissioned to do it for there was a Malcolm X opera that was done in Boston a couple of years ago, I think it was like maybe a year ago, and they commissioned us to do a video about Malcolm X before they entered the opera. And that was the video that we did for the opera. It was interesting because when we submitted it, there wasn't any speaking really in it. And that was the one thing, is that because we're all visual, dancer, musician, another dancer, there was no words, but what happens is that we all work in a visual genre that would be able to give you boom, 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 just image after image after image after image after image that would be able to tell a story without real words.
That's great. I think that the one question that you asked today was why. And for all of us here, we want to understand that on a much higher level. Because we see that from Hoover days to today, racism is prevalent. And in all systems, we find that it stays the same, but only the faces change. So how are we going to move forward in today's society when we see that racism is still very high in the black community and the white community, and how do we bring that together?
Ask me?
Yes.
Me. Okay, so the thing that I always do is education. We educate racism in our education system, you know, immediately from the beginning. How it is that we teach our kids and what the language that we use. I do a lot of traveling in other countries, and the one thing that's always interesting is that their language at some point or another connotates certain things that they're not able to interpret into English because we don't have the words for it, because we don't have the feeling for it, because what happens is that there's a lot of things that have happened in our history that we have negated, putting vocabulary words into our genre so that we could express it. It has been suppressed always. I always say it's really interesting. Like old, right here, the whole thing. Yeah. And the history books always said that slaves were brought over from Africa. And at just that one sentence, if you think of it, if they had said, Africans were brought over and enslaved in this country from certain places, it would be a whole different educational mindset. We don't educate like that. We educate, it is put into our educational system from the beginning. And now it's sort of going back to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
A bunch of learning
Where?
and unlearning.
Yes, we're starting to go back into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. I don't want to switch subjects so quickly, but I have a great question, I think, for Sue the Klan. Ben Crump was one of the lawyers on this case. How did his team decide to get to and use that? Because I see him on many different cases. How did Ben Crump get there?
That is a good question, and it's actually tied to your other question about what we're hoping this film will do. So when we were starting to work on this, we actually had no idea that the same precedent would be used in Charlottesville, in January 6th, and all these current trials, civil trials. And so at a certain point we said, we have to get this information to Ben Crump, because he's the one taking these cases on. And that was just a dream. We just said his name and talked about him all the time. It took about 2 years or so between us saying, let's do whatever we can to try and get him involved in this film, to him signing papers and saying, I'm a producer, when are we doing the interview? And I will now use this strategy in my cases going forward. So it was an incredible thing to get him involved in this project.
That's fabulous. So thank you. I think that his ability to come into these cases and work alongside with the individuals helps to further that case along, because he has such notoriety in today's society that there is a lot of cases that he's won. I'm sure there's quite a few that he's lost, but he definitely has the wherewithal to make sure that it works every time. So thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Now, my wife asked me a question to make sure that I get the answer for you. Now, she wanted to know a little bit about, did the boy feel safe in talking to the sheriff only because of what in your movie?
Yeah, I think as a storyteller, you always, especially with fiction, you always reflect on what you know. And I'm a father of 3 beautiful children.
Okay.
My oldest is a daughter and 2 young boys. And this in a lot of ways is a love letter to my 2 boys who flip through Netflix and Paramount and every streaming trying to find something that they identify with.
Okay.
And there's very few stuff out there. And so I think about the personalities of my 2 boys. One's very outgoing, his older brother is very cautious, will not talk then he comes out of his shell. And so I think about this kind of kid, and he's brave in his own way. He's brave in his own abilities. But there is this type of relationship between a strong black man and a young boy that I think we don't see that demonstrated on the screen enough. And so I wanted to show this kind of parental style father figure, almost adopting him and showing him that, hey, it's okay to be vulnerable. I'm going to be there for you. I'm like, we don't have that imagery projected enough. And so I just really wanted to take out of kind of my, like, love letters to my sons, who I'm always like, I'll be there for you. You can come out and say, and yes, that was what I was trying to get to, kind of like, I don't trust you, I don't know you, I'm wayward, I have all these things, these life experiences. And so it's this act of strength and security that ultimately led them to just open it up. Yeah.
Well, that was great. I think no, you can't do that either. Okay, one question?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a question. Thank you for your controversial films. I just finished one that was controversial, but I believe in listening to God when He tells you to do something. Was there ever a go, no go moment? This is open to anyone. Did you ever face like a, I should do this, but I shouldn't do this moment?
I definitely had. But putting together the slides and stuff and choosing just from a hat, basically, almost like far as like a bunch of images, you know, that really make an impact, make a statement, and really just show what's true. And then it's like, okay, do I make it supple for those who are viewing? So it's like it's not too much for them to take in, but at the same time, it's like it is part of the history. It is part of the truth. So it's like, why steer from it? You know, the truth shall set you free. That's what I've been taught. So it's like, you know, I had to just go against the norm and just go for it.
Well, thank you all for coming. My name is Hans Krieger.